Battery 100%.
Hey guys, I cannot hear anything. Can you guys hear something?
No, we can't hear anything.
Me neither.
Okay, so we gotta let him know. I think Rick Whitacre needs to take the.
We've been posting on chat that we can't hear.
Okay. Can you hear?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Now we can hear you. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. So the annual Joe Disch Award is given to a MDAS member who has significantly contributed to the growth and success of the club. Because of these folks, MDAS is now a successful astronomy club with many outreach and educational events. As Linda and I, as the prior awardees, it is our pleasure to present the Joe Disch Award to Tara Massa. It's a top secret.
I gotta get the newsletter article written.
Well, luckily for MDAS, Tara's love for astronomy or for photography led her to astronomy after viewing a solar eclipse. As president, Tara has led MDAS for the past few years. The club has thrived and added newer, younger members. So your enthusiasm, Tara, for all things astronomy is contagious. Also, your ability to keep the meetings going by yourself, despite electronic and other glitches, is remarkable, as we just demonstrated. Thank you, Tara, for all you've done for MDAS. We kept it a secret, did we?
You did. And I'm like, how am I going to write the article? All right. Thank you, guys. That was unexpected. All right. So we have Dan Vanderzanden up with the What's Up talk. Need to stop sharing. Yeah, let me. Yep.
Okay. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
And then make sure you share your screen before you start.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. Trying to get back to the Zoom thing. Where is it? It's here, right?
Oh, yeah. And then probably this one. Oh, yeah.
You
Minimize
text
that
me.
really quick. Oh, there it
Let's
is.
get
Yeah,
it
there
bigger
you
so
go.
I can
Okay.
see it.
There you go.
All right. Yeah. And then the screen. Okay. Hopefully this will work. Okay. So can everybody online see this? Anybody? Okay. Well, I'll just actually, before I start, add on about the dues being due. I am the membership coordinator, and just Monday I sent out the note reminding everyone that the dues are due March 31st. And quite a few people have already paid, so thank you to those folks. So, but now to this, I called it the ZW SeeStar Astrophotography has never been simpler, and it's actually more than just astrophotography, and I hope to kind of explain that to you as I go through this. If you get Sky and Telescope, you might have saw this. It was in the November issue, and it was sort of a description of sort of like going back, I don't know, 20, 30 years or so, and how things have kind of led to these smart telescopes. But the smart telescopes and the SeeStar, it's really only happened the last couple years or so that things have just kind of really taken off, and they've become very popular for all sorts of reasons. And I think the fact that there was this article kind of sort of illustrates how people are really starting to pay attention to these things. So I think that they're a revolution in amateur astronomy, and not just photography. I think for amateur astronomy, because they're great for other things. Even just for a casual observing, if you just want to see a great view of something in the sky, they're super simple to use, and they give you a really great view, and it's in color too, because it's a picture. It is astrophotography, and it's easy, but it gives really surprisingly good results. And because you're getting this picture, it's actually really good for public outreach too, and showing people. And I find that people not only are interested in what they see, but they're super interested in the thing. You know, when you explain it to them how it works, people are really dumbfounded practically. It's real simple to use. And you know, it is a picture, so it's not like a telescope, you're looking through it. You control it with the app on a phone or a tablet, and you see the picture on the phone or the tablet. And they're very cheap, the newer ones, and that's, I think, has a lot to do with why they're so popular. And like I said, going on? We okay? Getting the echo. Hello? Still got a nasty. Is it okay? It's kind of nasty. Yeah. Is it okay? I guess that's better. Still a little weird, but so anyway, like I was saying, they're very popular, and I think they're becoming more so. And it's sort of like astronomy without looking through a telescope. And what I'm going to talk about, there are more than one than just the SeeStar, but I'm going to focus mostly on the SeeStar because that's what I got. And this is it. And it's not very big, obviously. And this is what they call the S50. There's an S30, which is even smaller. And when you buy it, it comes in this case. I don't know if they can see me online, hopefully. But it's just like a compressed foam, but it actually feels pretty solid for what it is. Probably just some cheap thing, but it still feels pretty good. And you get the SeeStar, obviously, in this short little tripod, which I actually don't like. I feel like I'm going to kick it if I use it. So I just use a regular standard tripod, and it takes a 3/8-inch thread. So, you know, most tripods, or you can get an adapter. And then, it also comes with a sun filter, so you can look at the sun with it. And you'll see I've got some pictures later, but the sun and the moon fill the field of view. The field of view is a little bit bigger than the sun or the moon, so that gives you some idea, the field of view. It is a telescope and a camera, and I don't know if you can all see this, but this part here is the mount, basically. It does all the moving, and this part, the smaller part here, is the telescope and the camera. And so, you know, it rotates in the alt and the azimuth, so this thing moves right and left, and then this thing goes up and down. And you can also do the equatorial mode if you want. And this is kind of the closed position, but the telescope lens is in here, which is why I can't see it. But obviously it's small, so there's no giant telescope in there. It's a 50mm aperture, 250mm focal length. So it's a pretty wide field of view. And that gives basically an f5 telescope. And it creates pictures of the sky. And as I've said, it's controlled by an app on your phone or tablet. It actually creates a Wi-Fi hotspot. And so that's how you connect your phone or tablet to it. So this is a little bit better picture of sort of the insides. And you can see, okay, so here's when it's more open. And so you can see the mount part here. And then this is the telescope camera part, which is what's shown here. It actually has a triplet lens. So the light comes in, bounces off a mirror, another mirror, and then here's the camera. And all that is happening in this little box. So how it works is actually very simple. You just put it on the ground, sort of just like that. You make sure it's level, and then you calibrate the internal compass. And if you've ever calibrated like your phone compass, you just turn in a circle. So you just rotate it around a few times, and it's got a nice little app to tell you how often to do that. And then you connect it with the Wi-Fi, and so now you can start working. You run it completely with your app, and it has a nice sky map, or I'll show a little bit of this, but there's objects of interest. You can pick just about anything you want, and then you just tell it to go there. And it finds all these objects using plate solving, which probably some of you, I'm sure, know what that means, but I'll also explain that a little later. And then the secret, and really what it's doing, is just takes picture, 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 and stacks them. And so as you watch it, it gets better and better and better. And you can select different exposure lengths, 10, 20, 30, 60, and it will continue to just stack until you tell it to stop. And like I said, it just gets better and better and better the longer it runs. The sun and moon are a little, so that would be deep sky objects. Sun and moon are a little different. It's more kind of like a hunt and peck sort of thing, because it knows, from the math where the sun and the moon should be, and it knows the compass directions and the altitude. It sort of goes in that general direction and just kind of starts going back and forth until it finds the sun and the moon. The sun and the moon are a live video feed, so if like a bird flies by, you'll see it go by. The one thing it's not very good for is for planets, because 250 millimeters, that's not much, and so they're too small really to see much. And then the final picture, you save to your phone or tablet, so you have a record of what you did. And as I've said before, because it's a picture, you get to see more detail and color than you would see looking through even a very large telescope. And I mentioned about the field of view, but there's the actual specific 1.28 by 0.73 degrees. So sort of about a 1 degree field of view. So I mentioned plate solving. Like I said, some of you I'm sure know what this is, but this is just two random pictures of sky where you got a whole bunch of stars. And if you think about it, sort of like your thumbprint, every place you look in the sky is different because of the way the stars are oriented. And so there's software that will take these pictures, and just based on the way the stars are oriented, it'll say, well, I know where that is. That is this one place here. And so the SeeStar does that. It takes pictures of the sky and it figures out where it is. And when it starts getting like right on target, it's doing that until it literally is right on target. And it does that all automatically. Like I said, you just tell it where to go and it just goes there using this plate solving method. And this is a little screenshot of, I use a tablet actually, so this is more what it looked like on a phone. And I'm seeing something on my screen you're not seeing. So anyway, it actually, like many apps, there's different layers. This is sort of like the home screen, but you can see it tells you the battery, a little bit about the sunrise and sunset, and then you got these different modes. Stargazing is really, deep sky objects or really anything in the sky. Then it's got a solar mode, a lunar mode, and then this, it's called scenery mode. You can use it sort of like a daytime telephoto telescope. I've never actually used that. So don't know how good it works, but it's there. And then it also tells you things like, what are tonight's best, things that are in the sky if you don't know what to look at. And all you would have to do is just click on one of these things and whoop, off it goes. It also has kind of a built-in map of the sky. So you can poke around on this map. And again, you just click on something and it'll go to it. It's got a little, you're connected to the web. So there's a community of people who are using it. There's also this nearby thing, which sort of freaks me out a little bit because it shows where everybody else is who has a SeeStar. So, and then just kind of just a little bit about yourself kind of profile. So this is kind of an example of what it does. And it does depend a lot on how bright things are, because brighter things you would, like even the Orion Nebula, for example, it takes just a minute or two and all of a sudden you got a really great picture. But here's the good old Pac-Man Nebula. And here's kind of like a raw first image. But if you just let it go, just let it keep on going, it'll turn into this eventually because it just keeps adding it at, and you can see it. If you look at it at first, it looks like that. You come back 5 minutes later, it's better. You come back 10 minutes later, it's better, better, better. It just keeps going, get better and better. And the way it's set up now, I mentioned earlier, this is the Alt-Az mode. But there is an equatorial mode. You need to get a little mount so you can, polar align it basically. It does have a planning mode if you've used like Nina or SGP, where you basically say, okay, run it overnight and go to these objects and take an exposure for so long. You can do that. And so you can set it up, go to bed, and in the morning you got all these pictures. And it also has a mosaic mode. If you want to have a bigger field of view than the standard, you could just block off a frame and it'll basically create a mosaic that's a bigger field of view. So these are just some pictures. Like I mentioned, Orion is actually, I mean, it's shocking how good it looks really quick because it's so bright. You can see some of the times down here. Some of these, like this one here, it says 2 hours. I mean, I was really running some of these just to get a really good picture. But if you were doing outreach like the Eagle, I would say within 5 or 10 minutes, you've got a good enough picture for outreach. And again, it's because the Eagle is relatively bright. You know, the Horsehead, you know, 15, 20 minutes, you got a nice picture of the Horsehead, which is actually kind of hard to see. Here's a bunch of galaxies. Again, I've got really long times here, but like the Whirlpool, I would say 10 minutes or so. You got a nice picture of the Whirlpool galaxy that you can show to folks. The moon, so like I was saying, this kind of gives you some idea of the field of view. But this is Saturn and Venus, so that gives you some idea of the size. But you know, in my telescope, Saturn isn't a whole lot bigger than that either. So, but if you're obviously trying to get a nice big picture like you would do with planetary imaging, it's not quite made for that. One of the things I really like about this is it's obviously very portable. And in my house, I only have really, if I'm doing imaging, I really only have a view kind of to the east. But comets are, you know, who knows where, weird places usually. And it's just real easy to go, to even take it away from your house or go wherever you want, set it up, and it takes pretty good images of things like comets. Star clusters are, again, one of those things that the images just pop really fast because they're so bright. Again, I would say 5, 10 minutes, you've got a really good image of a star cluster. Another thing you can do, so I mentioned it's taking all these images, right? You can save every single one of those. And I've ran that, you know, I mean, you can just run as long as you want, but I run it for 4 or 5 hours and you've got 700, 800 images. Well, that's nothing for PixInsight. You just plop all those 800 images into PixInsight and you can actually process them just like you would any other image. The SeeStar is actually doing your image capture for you. And then you can process them just like you would any other image. And so this is a SeeStar version. And then this is after taking it and running the same stuff through PixInsight. And so I have the S50. There's an S30, which is smaller. So this, like I said, is a 50 millimeter. The 30 is a 30 millimeter and smaller. The price is less. The S50 now is $550. The 30 is $400. And just recent, like this month, they've. I don't think they're actually. I don't know if they're actually delivering them, but you can actually order the S30 Pro. So it's the S30 that has a much bigger chip, much bigger field of view. You know, kind of a little more enhanced features, and that's now about the same price as the S50, the regular S50. And the thing I think you can think about is the evolution of these things. What's the future? You know, there might be an S50 Pro, there might be an S70, there might be, who knows, you know? And there's also a dwarf, which is this thing here, you know, which they're actually a little smaller than the SeeStars, about the same price. The Vespera and the EV scope have actually been around for quite a while, maybe at least 10 years or so, but they're sort of a different price range, much more expensive. And I think what's contributed to making the SeeStar and the dwarf very popular is they're so much less expensive. The other option is the Celestron Origin. It's the closest to sort of a real telescope. It's a 6-inch f2.2 telescope that basically kind of runs similar, but it's also very expensive. And of course, you know, I mentioned, you know, S50 Pro, S70, whatever. Those will cost more too. You know, who knows what you know, they've made things so simple that I'm waiting for the S50. If there was an S50 Pro or an S70, I'd be first in line. And there's actually even more. I think there's a mirror scope or something like that. So so the biggest difference with the S30 Pro, like with the one that is it has the chip is 4 times bigger than the S30, the regular S30. It's got some other features, you know, I can't remember all of it, but that was the one thing that really stuck in my mind, and big chip. And I think if the S50 Pro wouldn't be surprised was a bigger chip too. Yeah. So I mean, it's I feel like it's the Vespera and the Eviscope have been around for a while, but these cheaper ones, this is all, like I said, just happening the last few years, and I think it's like we're at the beginning of some huge revolution, and who knows where it's going to end up, because it's just going to continue to get bigger, better and better and better. So anyway, that's my presentation. So be happy to ask questions. Rich.
You were mentioning how looking for the sun and the moon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so the first time I ever tried using an S30, it was out and during the day, I said, oh, let's go to the sun.
And burned it.
So it goes searching around, and it ends up pointing at a reflection of the sun.
Yep. Good point. So it's obviously, there's a battery built inside here, and it's USB chargeable. I've easily run it overnight, and I think only used half maybe. Yeah, so it's a pretty good battery, and runs for a long time. Oh yeah, Arnie.
What do you do when there's no Wi-Fi?
It's built into the SeeStar. It's got its own Wi-Fi hotspot. So, but if you're, I mean, like if it's one of those things where you can connect to the SeeStar, but it monopolizes, your phone won't be connected to the internet anymore because it's connected to the SeeStar. But I think they call it station keeping mode, something like that. You can, if you put in that mode, you can then actually get access to the internet. But obviously, you're out in the middle of nowhere. But it will work, obviously, in the middle of nowhere, because all it really needs to do is you just need to connect to the SeeStar. It doesn't care whether you're connected to the internet or not.
And I've heard at the star parties, you get to know each other's SeeStar by accident.
I don't know if you remembered that I showed that one picture I showed had its ID, and it's just a bunch of numbers and letters. So
it's strictly Wi-Fi. There's no Bluetooth option.
I think the way it works is when you first turn it on, it's a Bluetooth connection, and because you have to sort of get into your phone to then be able to hook it up to the Wi-Fi. So that first little jump is Bluetooth.
So, but you have to do the jump. You can't just operate Bluetooth.
I think because you do have to get in there. I think once you've done it for the first time, then it just automatically connects. But that very first time, you have to find that Wi-Fi thing to connect to it. So I think. But
Okay, one more question in the back.
Yeah.
To speak. Can you hear me there?
Yeah.
Okay. Selden Curry from Palo Alto. So I apologize for coming late. There's some bad traffic. But so I'm curious, you must be working with student groups?
Nope.
No? So let me ask your judgment. If you were working with students, the best way using such a scope to inspire awe and wonder in young people?
Well, I'm not officially working with student groups, but I do bring it to outreach. And it's what I've seen, I'm not sure it's going to quite answer your question. There's definitely an age thing. When I've taken it to the elementary schools, and some of it is the fact that it's being projected on a tablet or a phone. I use the tablet because it's bigger. And what I found with the elementary school age kids, they think it's just another game that they've been playing all the time. And most of them will come up and start poking at it, like it's something to play with. And I'm not sure they quite understand what it is. Now, does that mean there isn't this, maybe some awe from what they're seeing? But I kind of feel like they're bombarded so much by the tablets and stuff like that, that they're already playing with. They don't quite understand it. They might like the pictures and all that. So that's elementary. Now, when you get to the older kids, like junior high and adults in high school, they understand what's going on. And they're much more amazed when you start. Like I said, it's more like they're amazed at what it's doing, and the pictures are great, but they're totally amazed by what this thing is doing.
What would be your recommendation to a fifth grade teacher who wants to introduce students to astronomy? Would it be to naked eye astronomy?
I think that'd actually be better. Honestly, that's what I do when I go to, I mean, there may be different opinions here, but this is what I do. Like we were just at an outreach last week at an elementary school, and I bring my standard telescope because I think the littler kids understand, at least they're looking through this thing and that it's looking at something as opposed to just a picture on a tablet. That's just my view. I mean, other people may have different opinions, but yeah.
Okay, we're gonna give a big round of applause. Thank you so much, Dan. Okay, I'll have you stop sharing, and I'm just gonna share my screen.
Oops. Where is it? It was there for a sec. Okay. Are you back to control?
All right. So, real quick before we do our break, we have just a couple more things to do. I can move my. Okay. We have to elect the new board, so the leadership of our club. We are still looking for anybody to step up to be vice president. When I did it, it was piece of cake. I just showed up at the board meetings, got to know everybody, and smiled a lot. But it would be to help me out in case, I'm on vacation like I will be next month, and Rich Ozer is stepping up to host the meeting next month. But it's a lot of fun, and it is a low risk way to get more involved with the club. So please give me a call, come trip me, yell at me if you're interested. But we have to elect our current slate. So president would be me. Secretary is Melinda Moon Trask. Our new treasurer is going to be Nancy. Nancy, can you raise your hand? Welcome. Thank you for stepping up. And then we've got Kent, Paul, and Rich. Raise your hands real quick as our members at large. Okay. We're just going to do this real democratic, like raise your hand if you support the current slate. Online, you can raise your hand. Okay. Anybody want to raise their hand no and come volunteer for a position? Nobody. Okay. So we're going to call that an official election. Thank you, guys. And then one last one. We're going to break, but I do want to get a picture of all the Night Sky Network outreach awardees. Ken will have your pins, but if you see your name, please come up. And if your name isn't on there, I need one person to take a picture for us. I think all on this side. Yeah, I'm going to against this wall in the light. Anybody want to take a picture? I've got those here.
One more. Yes, some. I want in landscape.
Multiple. Thank you.
Right.
Can I get my picture of the one, Steve? Yeah, I gotta get my horse. Oh, yeah,
I haven't given you your
Okay,
pin.
everybody break. You got a 10-minute break.
If you haven't got your pin already and you're on that list, please come up.
You said come up.
Come up and cross your name off my list.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I can do that.
Hey, I have to do one more task.
Dang. I'll just earn this. There you go. Thank you. Wow, it's huge, Janet.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. That's right, so, yeah, got it, anyway.
There you go. Thanks for volunteering. Oh, can I give it to you? Of course. I'll give it to you. Okay.
Ken, for Saturday, do you want tables inside or outside?
Up the sound. It'd be nice. It'd be a little louder.
Sorry, Nate. I turned it up as high as I can on our end.
Okay, that sounds a little better. Will the speaker, yell into the microphone or?
Yeah,
That-
he says he's gonna yell.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Good. I love you.
Okay, we are ready for the main presenter. So tonight we have Rick Whitacre. He is coming to share his love for the night sky, and he does something specialized. I've shown you a little bit because I got hooked on it too, and we met online because of it. Eclipse chasing and also the deepscape photography. But Rick is much more skilled and advanced than I am. He's an instructor for the Ansel Adams Gallery, so he's the real thing. And he specializes in outdoor photography, particularly in national and state parks, and a focus on night, star, and eclipse photography. So I'm going to stop sharing and have Rick go ahead and start his share and welcome him to the club.
Okay, test, test. Can you hear me? Nope. Test, test, test. Hello, hello. Test, test. 1, 2, 3. Stars. I can use the mic if that's better. Test, test. It was working. Still out, test. What do I do? Test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you online.
I'm sure you can be able to hear me.
Can you hear? Oh,
Oh,
At home, I'm worried about.
online we can hear.
I did nothing. I don't know what my skill is.
Are we good?
Okay.
Gremlins. They're everywhere. All right, so we good? We good?
We cannot see the presentation, Rick.
Uh-uh. Okay. Feel like I'm on TV.
I know, right?
Mhm.
You gotta feed the wire down.
Hey, Rick, we cannot see the presentation.
Okay. I'll talk to my IT person.
We cannot see the presentation, Rick.
Okay.
I am seeing the presentation.
Are you? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then it's my settings some here. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got video, we got audio. Woo! All right. Thanks everybody for coming. My name is Rick Whitacre. I'm going to talk about Nightscape photography a little bit, but more in depth into Deepscape photography, which is my latest passion. So real quick, just some housekeeping. I don't see anybody with pad or paper, but sometimes, you know, they come in and start taking notes. You really don't have to do that. I'm going to send this out through Tara tomorrow in case you're interested. It'll have all the pictures and all the links. It just won't have the embedded videos, but you can go to my Vimeo page and you'll see all those if you want to, you know, relive them tomorrow. There will be time. Ooh, that is loud. There will be time for questions at the end, but please don't hesitate to raise your hand if I'm going too fast or if I'm not making something clear, okay? This should be interactive as best as possible. So I'm a retired semiconductor engineer living in Saratoga, California. I've worked in Silicon Valley for 30 years. I took up photography when I retired to get out of my wife's hair. And yeah, the house was hers. And so she said, get lost. So it was a great time to go out and see the parks and start going to the wildlands that we're so blessed with out here. I started shooting in earnest in 2009. And I tried everything. I took classes at West Valley. I did portrait photography, abstracts, birds, wildlife, the whole bit. But very quickly migrated to landscapes. I love being out in the great outdoors and doing vast vistas of landscapes. But not long after, I started doing more and more night photography or astro landscape. And that really got my juices going. Being able to photograph the stars. I had a Canon 5D Mark II, which was one of the first cameras that could really do the Milky Way pretty well. And so I went from there to other cameras. But then, like a lot of people, I started adding in eclipses and auroras, meteor showers. And a lot of what you're going to see here are what I call complex alignments, or, you know, the things that align in the sky and how they align with things on Earth. And it's just really something to get my technical brain continues to work, and I get to explore the artistic side, which I never knew I had. So more recently, I've migrated to Deepscapes, which is really a dive off the deep end, and you'll see that in a minute here. But it does keep me really energized and out late at night. I have taught several workshops. Right now, I'm doing a yearly one at the Ansel Adams Gallery. I had to change this foil today. It did say one slot left. I was going to try to entice you to come in, but one of your members signed up for it this morning. So now I'm going to entice you to get on the wait list if you see anything you like. I did guest author a section on a meteor photography for Lance Keimig, one of the godfathers of night photography. I'm a member of the Los Gatos Saratoga Camera Club, and got my website and Flickr and my Vimeo page up there, and you'll get that in the PDF that you get tomorrow if you want it. So to start off, I thought I would pollute you with my definitions of what we're going to talk about tonight, because it does change from person to person. Not everybody has the same understanding. When I talk about astro landscape, it's also known as nightscape photography. It's really the combination of sky-based things that are in the sky and combined with things on the ground, where you try to create a visual link between either the Milky Way or meteor shower or whatever with something on the ground to create something interesting. Astro landscapes are typically wider angle, 16, 20, 24 millimeters. They're typically taken on a fixed tripod, which means you have to take short exposures to make sure the stars don't streak on you. And then you typically, you can take one shot if you want. A lot of people start taking 32 shots so you can stack them and get the signal to noise ratio down. Deep space or deep sky photography, I'm not sure exactly which one it is, or if we took a vote, which one we would like. But typically that's taken on an equatorial tracker with a telescope or a camera with a longer lens. And you take longer exposures and you take them over a longer period of time to collect data and to pull out that fine detail in DSOs and other things in the sky. Deepscape photography is the combination of the two. You're going to use deep sky or deep space techniques to bring out all the detail in the DSO or the nebulas or the galaxies, but you're also going to try to tie them to something on the ground and create a visually interesting composition between what's in the sky and what's on the ground. Deepscapes, the way I define them, I mean, art is art. People can do anything they want. But deepscapes, from my standpoint, the camera doesn't move, the focal length doesn't change. It's all done in one night. You don't just take something one night and put it on something else at a different focal length on another night. So no cheating. Just some examples here. Astro landscape, classic Milky Way shot. I was up at Alpine Lake, right, with Marcia right there. And we did that one night, just beautiful, beautiful night. Deep space or deep sky, it's typically a portrait of a deep sky object. And then the deepscape is the kind of detail you get out of deep sky, but tied in to a land-based foreground. Oh yeah, those got turned on. This one? Me? Oh. Better? Okay. Thank you. Good call. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to show you some of my nightscapes or astro landscapes. And I think what you're going to start to see, I picked these for a reason because they all show some kind of an alignment between the sky and what's going on the ground. This was one, the newspapers or the technical articles were talking about a nice alignment between the crescent moon and Mars and Venus. And so I started figuring out, well, where could I put them? And what I decided to do was having them line up and point at Pigeon Point Lighthouse. And so shot this. There was a lot of mood in the atmosphere that night, but it was a nice complicated shot. Pigeon Point Lighthouse again, crescent moon just coming down over the top of it. Pigeon Point Lighthouse again, this time with the eclipse moon, so a lunar eclipse. I just took a whole sequence of them as they grazed the top of Pigeon Point Lighthouse. And just so you don't think I spend all my time at Pigeon Point Lighthouse, there's also crescent moon between El Capitan and Hefto. Yeah, I actually stole this. Gary Hart got a magazine cover. I can't remember the name of the magazine, but he did this, and I plotted out when I could go and steal his shot. And it turned out to be 4 years later. But I put it on my calendar, I showed up, and I managed to get it. And things like this, where you go out and you get the Milky Way, and you try to figure out what's an interesting composition with it. And this was a bristlecone pine up at the Patriarch Grove in the White Mountains. So these are kind of some of my nightscapes. And then we kind of move on to deepscape, because those weren't hard enough. So again, deepscapes combine a deep space object with astrophotography techniques and then a landscape foreground. DSOs can be galaxies, nebulas, star clusters, and a lot of those are very large. So you can have a lot of fun with them. Some of them are 6, 10 times the size of the moon. But they're very faint. And so you need that tracker with multiple images over hours, as you guys all know, to pull out the detail from some of these DSOs. I typically stay within about 1 to 5 minute exposures, but then I collect them over 4 or 5 hours to get the kind of details. And for those who don't know, basically the more images you get, the lower your signal to noise ratio. That gets your noise level down. And then when you stretch it to pull out this information from your images, you don't create as much noise. And again, what I mentioned earlier is we take a lot of care to preserve the relative size and position of what's going on in the sky and what's going on the ground, so that you know, you have to put yourself in the right spot with the right lens and this way. So this is what started me out on this crazy journey. Dr. Paul Schmidt published Galaxy Set. And I saw this, I think it was online. I don't think it was a magazine. I saw this online. And I go, well, there's kids in the room. Bullpucky. That was my first response. This is just somebody who took a picture of a mountain and slapped Andromeda on top of it. That's crazy. Except Paul's a lot smarter than I am. So he knew some jerk like me was going to say that. And so he created this to go along with it. I go, oh. So you can see he's on the tracker, and he shuts it off. Put the two images together, that's a Deepscape. So I started. This is my very first one. It's a little rough around the edges, but that's Andromeda, of course, over Mount Shasta. That's my first. And as an homage to Paul, I started doing time lapses so that no other jerk would question me. Nope. What are you? You're not running? Oh, come on. Oh, that's funny. Huh. My embedded. Ah. All right. Well, hopefully some of the rest of them will run. Maybe not. Okay. We're going to see if the rest of them run. Otherwise, I may have to do something else. So this is probably my second or third one. Once again, back up at Mount Shasta. It's just a string of nebulas from Eagle up in the upper left down to Lagoon. Trifid's in there somewhere. And we'll see if this video works. All right, what's going on? Oh, there it goes. I didn't wait long enough. All right, we'll start that back.
We're good? Yes.
We good? Oh, yes, if you can mute your microphones on Zoom, please. Thanks. All right, let's see if I can get this run again. Here we go. So started off not tracking, turned the tracker on as soon as I saw Lagoon, and then tracked it up into the sky, and then composited them together, pulling out the detail from the nebulas. And then I annotated them to make it easy to see what's going on. So I'm going to try, see if this, that's it. Okay, let's see if this will run, if I wait long enough. Nope, oh, there it goes. So on this one, I actually started the tracker pointed at Andromeda when it was behind Shasta. And so it just kind of pops out from behind and then put it together. I've changed color schemes a few times. This one, Marcia was with us, well, we were both shooting this one. Marcia was there again. We came up with this plan to have Andromeda setting next to the 40mm telescope out at the Owens Valley Radio Observatory. And we tried texting and calling and emailing the guy who runs this dish and says, look, you got to point it to the northeast. And all night long, all the other antennas were rotating around, doing what they're supposed to do. We kept listening for this one. Never turned all night long. And so it would have been a really cool image. It turns out to be an okay image, because it would have been a lot better if the dish was pointing at Andromeda. So there's a video for this one. This is kind of a fun video. Hopefully it'll run. There we go. So this one we tracked Andromeda from virtually straight overhead down until it's set in Owens Valley. It's hard to tell, but there's clouds rolling by and airplanes and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden the dish pops into view. Isn't that fun? So that's the image on that. You know, we would have paid any amount of money to get that dish to turn. But I went back with Comet Ponsbrooks, and the dish was just where it needed to be. So if I were a less honest person, I would combine these two images. That's Andromeda and El Capitan, obviously. I'd seen pictures of Andromeda up over the nose of El Capitan. And I started looking around for what I wanted to do, and I said, why not have it come out from behind? And so again, it's a rise. We're facing east. And so I've got as soon as I saw it, I turned the tracker on. And then it goes up. This time you can tell because the planes are going by left and right, and then put that together.
How do you light up if you're in a dark location, how is the foreground lit up like that?
I cheat. No. Usually I'm setting up my tracker during the blue hour, and I'll do a preliminary polar alignment, and I'll bring the camera over to where it's looking at El Capitan, and I'll take some images during the late blue hour, because it's just so hard to get this kind of detail in astro night. Even long exposure, low ISO, it's just really hard to get that kind of detail. So I do a lot of blue hour illumination. This was down at Lone Pine, and that's Mount Whitney with the Rosette Nebula over Mount Whitney. I don't have a video for this one, sorry. And once again, Marcia was along for that one. She's my photo wife, as my real wife calls her. There's Flame and Horsehead over Mount Whitney. These pictures had to be taken, about a mile and a half apart, something like that, because they just didn't line up from the same location. You have to actually go move to get the different DSO to line up. That's Cathedral Peak, Tuolumne Meadows. And that's the row, how do you guys pronounce it? Ophiuchi? Ophiuchi? Well, that's what it is. And I do have a video for that one too. So this one started tracking up in the sky, of course. And it's coming down, and you get a certain amount of air glow changes, and the sky changes color, but then all of a sudden it's just kind of like, hello. And again, that's a blue hour composite. Okay. So to do this kind of stuff, of course you need a tracker, because there's just no way to track that stuff and get all the detail without the star streaking, without an equatorial tracker. You really need to know how to use your camera in the dark, because you need to be able to change exposures, do flats, do this without turning on a lot of lights. You're going to use techniques for planning, such as TPE, which is the photographer's ephemeris, Planet Pro, which is an amazing package. Photo Pills is another one that folks use. And those you're going to use to figure out where to stand to have those two things line up. And then once you get the images, you need software to stack them. We've talked about PixInsight earlier tonight. I don't know how to use that one. I use Cyril, sometimes with success. And Starry Sky Stacker is another one out there that you can use. Photoshop, or equivalent, to composite the images, either the blue hour or the long exposure at night, or maybe you even light paint it, to get some light on there. So you need Photoshop or something like that to composite the images when you're done. And then, of course, you need a really fast computer with a heck of a lot of storage. So as I mentioned earlier, the DSOs are really quite large. Some of them are. The moon is a half a degree in angular size. Andromeda is 3 degrees, so it's 6 times larger than the moon. But it's like 1,000 times fainter. So you can't see it. You can see it with your naked eye. Well, I can see it off angle with my naked eye, but I can't see it looking straight at it. Veil Nebula, 3.5 degrees wide. The Orion, Horsehead Flame, Barnard's Loop, 6 degrees wide. 12 times larger than the moon. So they're nice, fun targets, but you got to collect a lot of data over a long period of time to get them to show up like this, like most of you guys know. Pre-planning is one of the most difficult things for deepscapes, figuring out where you're going to stand to get that alignment and that composition that you have in your head. Start off by, what DSO do you want to image? Or what mountain do you want to have some DSO behind? And that's going to dictate what time of year, what time of the night, because it changes constantly. The DSOs rise and set 4 minutes earlier every day. So next year it's going to be exactly the same place, but every month it's going to move 2 hours. You want to determine what Earth-based landscape you want to use, like a mountain or a dish or whatever. You need to figure out what kind of focal length you need. First of all, for the DSO, because of those angular sizes, that's going to kind of dictate the lens you're going to use. Because you don't want it to fill the lens because there's no room for landscape, or there's no room for the ground-based landscape. So you kind of want the DSO to be a portion of that frame. So you kind of start with that. And then it's like, how far away from the mountain do you have to be for it to be the other part of the frame? And so that kind of gives you the sense of what focal length you need to use and how far away from the foreground you need to be. And that's kind of the first thing you need to think about. And then you need to figure out, okay, that's kind of an arc of where I need to stand to get those angular sizes to match up. Now I need to get the DSO and the mountain to match up. And so that's kind of another line as to where you need to stand. And so once you get all that figured out, then you can, then you need to make sure you don't have any trees in front of you, or that you're not standing in the middle of the highway, or all these kinds of things. So you use all these tools, and some of you I'm sure have used like Google Street View. So if you figure out, okay, this particular parking lot right here is a great place to stand, everything lines up, it's perfect sizes, you put the street view down there and you look and there's a wall of trees in front of you. So it's difficult to find exactly where to stand to make these happen, but it can be done. It's actually part of the fun for me. So I thought I'd run through briefly kind of the tools that we use to plan the deepscapes. So this is a program called the Photographer's Ephemeris, and you can pull up either satellite maps or topology maps. This is a topology map, and you get red pin and gray pin. I don't know if you can see those, but I've put the red pin down at Stoneman Meadow in Yosemite Valley, and I've put the gray pin up on the top of Half Dome. And so you can get some information from this. You can get the azimuth or bearing, which I think is 78.25 there, and it'll tell you the altitude. So it's plus 17 degrees in altitude. So that kind of gives you a sense that if you're going to stand out in the middle of that meadow, the nose of Half Dome is going to be 17 degrees up, and it's going to be at 78 degrees azimuth. So that kind of gives you a sense of what you're going to look for in terms of a DSO, or how you're going to line a DSO up to that. So I started looking at Pleiades, and I pulled it up on Stellarium here, and I put one of those red boxes around it, and you can kind of see here, I'll use this, 170 millimeters. So that gives a lot of room around Pleiades to build the rest of the scene. And you can kind of see that over here, I can't read it from here, but there's an altitude and azimuth. It's similar to the nose of Half Dome. So you know you can kind of fine tune it a little bit. And you also got to look at the dates and see when you can actually shoot this. This tool, Planet Pro, has an amazing feature. It's also got the red pin, gray pin that TPE has, but they call it the camera pin and the scene pin. But it'll give you the bearing or the azimuth, and it'll give you the altitude of whatever the difference is between those two pins. But its feature, its killer app, is you can hit a virtual viewfinder. And it pulls up and it says, you know, at 120 millimeters on this date, and it draws Half Dome, and there's Pleiades. So, you know, using that app, I can say, okay, if I stand on this sidewalk, I'll get this. If I move over here, I'll get something a little different. If I move over here, I get a little something different. So by iterating, you can kind of come up with, you know, Pleiades right off the nose of Half Dome. And that's what I did. And you can see that any summer night. Just right up the side of Half Dome. And then you pull all that detail out. And this is a color version, obviously. But I went to a black and white version to get all the veils out, or the dust. I called it the veils of the Seven Sisters. Pretty clever, huh? And, but it was nice because in black and white, I can really yank on that data. So equipment, you do need a nice modern camera. I think everybody's got one now. You need to be able to shoot cleanly at ISO 3200. You need fast lenses, f2.8 or faster, at the focal length required. You know, some of the 70 to 200 millimeter lenses, f2.8, you know, do a really, really nice job. This is not an issue as much as it was 10 years ago when I first started, but you really have to pay attention to how it resolves stars in the corner. Older lenses have something called coma flare, and the stars just, you know, they have wings on them. Most lens manufacturers now are correcting very well for that, but it's something to be aware of. Otherwise, you have to crop in or do all sorts of crazy stuff to get rid of it. Your tracker needs to be able to handle the weight. Not a problem for you guys. Lens cap, t-shirt for doing flats, tablet for, you know, running the tracker, or I use my tablet for taking flats. I use it for a white card essentially to take flats. So, you know, just some basic things that you need to do this. I put in some entry-level trackers here. The move, shoot, move, I really don't think is adequate to do much of this, but it is an entry-level tracker. It will handle a wide-angle lens. So if you come up with a Deepscape wide angle, that'll work. Skywatcher Star Adventure was my first entry-level tracker. Ioptron Skyguider Pro. Marcia makes that thing sing. It's unbelievable. And the Benro Polaris is an Alt-Az, but it does a really good job too. I now have the ZWO AM3 with the ASI Air and a guide scope, and my life is wonderful. I use Cyril, but you can use Starry Sky Stacker, which is on Mac, Deep Sky Stacker, which is on Windows and it's free, or PixInsight, which is expensive and it's got a large learning curve, but it's spectacular. Photoshop and Lightroom to put everything together, and you guys all know about calibration frames? Am I just preaching to the choir here? All right. So to get all that data out, you really need to take calibration frames to be able to pull data out of those images. Calibration frames help you develop a noise floor, flatten your lenses out in terms of any optical issues, dust on your sensor, you know, the little rings around your lenses as it gets, you know, vignetting. All these things take out all of those defects in the image path. And so once you take your lights, which are the actual frames, you take darks which develop the noise floor, allow you to subtract out any stuck pixels or noise like that. Flats are to take out any imperfections in the optical stack. Biases, get rid of any issues with your sensor. And if you take all of those and hand them off to PixInsight or Cyril, it works its magic and gives you the cleanest image possible. So anytime you're going to go out and spend 5 hours in the cold and all these hours figuring out where to stand, take the time to take all of these because they'll make you a cleaner image when you get done. Foreground lighting, like we discussed. You know, once you're out there and you're polar aligned and you're starting to collect, it's really dark. There's details in these mountains that is very, very difficult to pull out without something to help. Blue hour is my favorite today. I use that quite a bit. It gives you a soft but still a directional light. And you can either take it before or after. The deeper the blue hour, the better. Because if you take it right at the beginning of the blue hour, you get this directional light and everybody thinks, oh, the moon's up, or, oh, geez, you didn't wait for the sun to go down. But if you go deep blue hour, you get this nice soft, it's just beautiful lighting. You can also use subtle light painting. It's often called low-level lighting. You can use a panel light, or sometimes we've been out there and a car going by just happens to hit the image just for the right amount of time at exactly the right time and lights up, and we've used that. Or long, low, high or low ISO images of the foreground with no light. Just give you my process flow fairly quickly. So I do a lot of detailed planning at home, trying to figure out using all these different tools, where to stand, what lens to use, etc. I try to get to the site either earlier during the day or a day before, so I can go see if there's trees or rattlesnakes where I expected to plan or expected to stand, and if so, find some other place. I like to pre-polar align while the sun's still up. It's kind of difficult because magnetic compasses are not very good, but PhotoPills has a tool where if the sun's still up, you can point it at the sun, move it around a little bit, and it calibrates the gyro in your phone. So you're not using the compass anymore. So if you get the sun all lined up, move it around, it'll give you true north within a degree or degree and a half. And that allows me to get set up before it's so dark that you can see Polaris. And that allows me to point the camera at the foreground and start getting foreground images with the blue hour. And then when Polaris comes out, I go back, I polar align, and as long as I didn't have to move it too much, then that blue hour photo I took is going to be good. Yeah, this is okay. Okay, so this is kind of a fun thing I didn't realize until I did a couple of these. If you do your planning correct, and you're standing in this one location that's going to have a foreground look like this and a DSO right behind it, you have defined the declination setting for that DSO at that moment. So you don't have to touch it. Never touch your declination axis again because you've defined it. Because you're standing in the right spot, that DSO is going to be right over Mount Shasta at that time. Deck is dialed in. And you're like, wait a minute, no. It's true. Because the only thing that's going to move now is the RA, which I call my time machine. So if that DSO is going to be over Mount Shasta at 3 in the morning, and it's 10 o'clock now, 10 o'clock p.m. now, that's 5 hours. So I can take the RA, I'm pointed at the mountain, and take the RA and go like that, 5 hours. It'll be there. You don't have to touch deck. So it's kind of fun. So for a rise, so these DSOs, you could shoot them, as you saw, rising or setting. For the rise, usually have time before it rises because you don't want it to rise until astro dark. So you've got some time to take your blue hour foregrounds, get all set up, focus on the foreground, take that foreground shot. And then if you want to do a time lapse 15 or 20 minutes before that DSO is going to show up, you can start your camera without the tracker on. And then once the time is, I said here that you want to start the tracker motor when your planning says to start the tracker. Because by the time you get to see it, it's too late. Because it's rising close to the horizon. You've got a lot of sky in between you and the DSO. Maybe it's not as dark as it should be. And so if you're sitting there waiting to see Andromeda, oh, it's up there. So what you do is you trust your planning. If it says, 11:59 and 3/4 second, that's when you start your tracker. I have used a spotting scope though, where I have a long lens, like on that El Capitan with Andromeda coming from behind it, just to make sure. I had a 200 millimeter lens pointed at that spot. I'm kind of like this. When I saw it, I clicked it. Once you're tracking, then you want to make sure you're focused on the stars. You don't want to still be focused on El Capitan, because your stars won't be as crisp as they need to be. You want to make sure your composition is there, your star shape is there, and then you got 3, 4, 5 hours to sit around and do nothing while you collect data. So a beer, a glass of wine, whatever. When you're done shooting, then you want to take your calibration frames. The setting is slightly different because this one you're not waiting for it to come out from behind the mountain or the dish. It's up in the sky and it's going to set into that mountain or dish. So you still want to take your blue hours, because I don't show up at a shoot at 1 in the morning and try to get everything done in the dark. I just do it all when I can see. So that leaves me a lot of time sometimes. But anyway, once you get set up again, you're pointed at the mountain. You know where the DSO is going to be. Your deck is now set. So all you got to do is move your RA back to where the DSO is right now and check to make sure it's there. If it isn't, you got plenty of time to figure it out because it's moving slow. So if it's where it is, then you make sure it's in.
Well, go lie down in bed.
Okay, Mom.
So what? Camera? What for?
So, I know, yeah. So anyway, you can either stop tracking when it hits that spot that you want, right? Or you can just track it down in the dirt and then come back. And like, the Andromeda next to the dish, I just tracked it down in the dirt and then I brought it back and we took images of the dish. When you're done shooting, take calibration frames. If it's close to sunrise, like a shoot I did a weekend and a half ago, I just stayed up and took blue hour images at the sunrise. So I had blue hour images at sunset, and I had blue hour images at sunrise, and I liked the one at sunrise better, so I used those.
You took your iPad? Okay, let's go get it.
So just some final thoughts here. It's not for everybody. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It requires all this hardware, software, steep learning curves, but man, is it fun. And if you're already doing some astro landscapes, if you're already doing deep sky, then you're already halfway there, right? It's just kind of another 20 steps. So a week and a half ago, I was down at Trona Pinnacles, and I was there 2 nights camping, and I managed to get 2 more deepscapes, and I wanted to get them in here just to show them to you, and my serial skills just completely left the building, and so Marcia processed the sky for me, and I put them together. So full credit to Marcia. We're still working on them, but I call that dry dock. This I had in my head. I always try to come up with stupid names, but it's kind of like Andromeda's coming into dry dock. And then here's the that whole thing: Barnard's Loop, Orion, Horsehead. It's hard to see, but it's here. And Flame over a cool 2-foot tower. So I'm still working on the colors. I'm not happy with it yet, but it was a great, very productive 2 nights. No sleep. Questions? Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yes.
Gee.
Is that me or you?
I'm gonna turn this one down.
Thank you for the thank you for the presentation. My question is where. Okay, sorry. My question is where do you have to stand to take that crescent moon between El Cap and Half Dome?
I'm trying to remember the exact name. If you're coming in on 120 and you've passed the turnoff to Tuolumne Meadows and you're heading toward the valley and you come around this corner and it's the first time you can see Half Dome. I think it's called Half Dome View. There's a big parking lot there. It's the first place everybody pulls out. But you get there and on the right day, the right year, you can get that shot. But I used the photographer's ephemeris to figure that out. You know, basically, I knew where Gary Hart had taken it, and I knew that's where he had to stand to get the right separation between the two monoliths. And then it was a matter of, you know, I think it was October. It's like every October, did the crescent moon land in that middle? Because the moon just flops all over the place. You never know where it's going to be. And literally, it took several years for it to show back up in that slot. So I just put it on the calendar. Okay. I think this. Oh,
So you referred to blue hour several times. When is blue hour relative to sunset or sunrise?
yeah. I use it as kind of a catch-all. There's like 3 slices in there. There's, of course, daylight. There's golden hour. There's civil twilight and nautical twilight and astro twilight. And I consider blue hour anything from the end of civil to beginning of full astro dark, because there's enough light coming from the sky, typically behind you, to light up the hills a little bit.
Okay.
Just enough.
That makes sense.
And it's very directional light, so you get that crispy detail. If you wait till full astro dark with nothing but starlight and take images, you'll see it, but it's hard to get that crunchy detail out of it. So it's one of my cheats.
Okay, there's a question from Sean in the Zoom audience, and this is the one I struggle with as a photographer. Can you tell us about blending and masking techniques for combining the foreground and deep sky images?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because what you've got is you've got a foreground that you've taken at a blue hour. It's easier if you do take one during astro dark, because then the sky behind your foreground is the same color as the sky of the DSO. So it's a lot easier to blend a foreground that you've taken a long exposure of at astro dark. But what happens when you take one at blue hour, the sky behind your landscape is very bright. So when you start to blend a dark black sky with something that's bright blue or pink or whatever, it becomes very difficult. So there's a couple techniques that help out. Well, one is AI masking is getting really, really good. So if you got trees sticking up, if you got jagged foregrounds, the AI masking is just really getting good. I used to have to go and edit those masks pixel by pixel just to get it right without halos and things like that. The AI masking is getting very, very good. So that helps a lot. The other trick you can pull is you've got your 2 layers in Photoshop. You've got your sky and you've got your foreground, and you just darken your foreground with an adjustment layer. And you get it down to where the sky of that foreground is now very close to the sky of your DSO. Then you mask it, and you get the composite. But you've still got really clean data down below. What you did was you lowered the exposure of that. So now you can selectively bring that exposure back up. Like I can paint a higher exposure on top of the whole stack. And that allows you to highlight the foreground without messing up that boundary layer. That's one trick. There's several. Take my workshop. It's
Any
hard.
more questions?
Short answer is hard.
Okay, thank you guys. We'll
Great.
see you next
Can we ask questions live or
Oh,
do we
yes.
have to?
Okay, we have a question.
Yeah. As I'm listening to you in your process, I'm thinking, have you ever tried PixInsight and tried to just start a line? I mean, you do your composite, so you basically get your deep sky nice with the background, of course, with somewhere in there. But then after that, you can do a star eliminator, right? And then you can actually get the foreground to where you want it, and then just add the stars to it.
I have not done that.
I think that would be such an easier process than using.
Yeah, the issue I'm probably not understanding correctly, but the issue I think you might have is your foreground when you're on the tracker and the tracker is moving, the foreground is blurred.
Yeah. Right. That's why you take a picture of the foreground
Okay.
on blue light, right?
So
And
PixInsight allows you to merge in a foreground? That's cool.
yeah, you can actually use the math program, and then you can say on this picture I want you to add 5% of it, 10% of that.
Wow.
And then you can actually, the stars, you can say, you can add so you can add A and B and put percentages on it.
Yeah, I've never used PixInsight. That's interesting. That's a great tool. Yeah.
I mean, if you're willing to share some data, I'll be willing to play with it just to see how, and I will be willing to actually write you the process on how I did it.
Yeah.
It's just because I'm curious about how it might end up being more difficult, but in my head right now, it seems like that's the way to
Might work.
go.
Yeah. Okay. Let's touch base after this, or tomorrow, and I'll see if I can get you the data you need.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. Anything else? Oh, Marco. Thank you, Marco. Okay. Great. Sunseeker. Oh. No. Yeah, I use PhotoPills. I don't use Sunseeker anymore. Oh, no. No, it's PhotoPills has the, oh, maybe it is Sunseeker. Oh, thank you. Okay, scratch that. It's Sunseeker that has the gyro. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Anything else? I'll be around for a while if anybody wants to talk.
Thanks everybody for coming. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tara, for organizing. Ciao.
Thank you for an interesting talk.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope you enjoyed it. Good, good.
The question I have is, how difficult would it be to take pictures and get them into a planetarium show?
Oh, that's quite a.
Is that an easy thing, or is that so that you can see the rising in a planetarium?
Oh, in a planetarium. Ooh.
That's an interesting.
Have you thought of that?
And I'm not volunteering for it just yet, but what you need is somebody to monitor questions come in.
Yeah, I've been on it.
Oh, I know.
Could see,
But like,
here's the mountain, and then you can see the rise. And it's
She's one of the
realistic,
kids.
like from their
Yeah.
location.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, she muted herself. I'm like, oh, she's
So
she
is
muted
there a
herself again. And the third
planetarium
time I'm
over
like,
here?
but like,
What does the
she must have had her phone.
Are you a
locked
social
or something.
astronomer?
Very rarely.
Yeah.
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 Hi.
I just want to introduce myself. I'm Herman. My first time, Herman.
Herman, nice to meet you, Herman. Hey, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah, he's top notch. Marcia does a lot of deep space. She kind of got me hooked.
I mean, we go up to Arnold a lot. We were just in Yosemite and just like no moon, and we were sitting there. And I started searching around, and the astronomy club came up locally, and I was like, let's check it out. I get up to me.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah, Yosemite's got some nice dark skies.
Yeah, it's still beautiful. And then the mountains are great on like observation nights.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a list of directions and
Yeah, so
getting there and such.
you can
Parking.
ask John, it's our course. But yeah, all the, like in the newsletter, all the directions are there.
Yeah.
So those, I think 3 or 4 really set trackers, they'll be trending.
You're not allowed to have that access, it's amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's really, it's a great perk.
And then with kids, like having bring my boys up there,
Yeah,
just kind of check it out.
yeah, they absolutely, yeah, and then any family members allowed up there, sometimes they'll make us take the car.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm always so stressed before these things trying to get it.
Well, yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot on your shoulders doing that.
Sometimes people are.
I got lost.
Oh, no!
I ended up on the other side of the playground.
Oh, I always turn one turn.
Oh, yeah.
Can I help you put you this away? I've got some of this stuff.
This they do, but I'm just like, yeah, it's only takes like 5-10 minutes. Too many little. Well, thank you.
This is really cool. This is voice or
It's motion, yeah. So it'll just fall. Like some speakers walk back and forth, and it'll.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets confused, and they.
Thank you.
Run from the background.
Thank you very much.
Amazing. So you all need to back me.
Yeah, it's fun.
Also glad to know that you work on the semiconductor industry. I work on firmware.
You work on what?
Firmware, like you're supposed to.
Oh, yeah. For which company? Oh, okay. Good company.
That's our day-to-day contact with all the semiconductor engineers.
Yeah, you're right on you're right at the silicon.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm looking forward to seeing you.
See you guys.
All right. Here's your mic.
Hey.
Didn't turn it off.
Excellent job.
Was it okay?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
You want to get back out there.
Yeah. Waking up makes you want to get back out there.
Yeah. It's hard though, man, being out there for so many hours for one picture.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I was
Actually.
like, you need to be more efficient with your time.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But I enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's
The
unique,
wider
right?
ones, though.
What's that?
You know, the wider ones, like the one at Bernard,
Yeah.
you probably could have gotten away with maybe an hour and a half on that one. For as far away as
But
it
you,
was.
yeah.
He was trying to get some dust.
Well, yeah.
The thing was it wasn't going to set behind my toothers until 2:30 in the morning. So I might as well.
Yeah.
Shoot it all. Right. Thanks for doing this, Tara. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for.
We get to meet.
Yeah, we
What, been 2 years now or something like
At
that?
least. Well, when was Mazda? Well, Mazda was 2 years, right?
Yeah, but we like had it before that. So my initial, I think I told you, my initial experience was when you come in tracker. I did that in 20.
Oh, that's right.
2019.
Oh my God, then you guys are
Poor man's
But I didn't
tracker.
know him then. It was afterwards. I'm like, oh my God, you're the poor man tracker guy. Because you posted
that's
that
hysterical.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And some
Our
clips
mutual
through.
friend on Facebook or something.
Yeah.
No, I can't remember where I posted it. Yeah, maybe on Flickr.
I don't know how I came
Ages
across
ago.
it, but
Yeah, because I was a poor man.
Yeah. But I didn't own a tracker.
Yeah, that was
I didn't know anything about right ascension or anything. It almost killed my brain.
Yeah, it's that was for an eclipse that I put that together. Anyway, fun. All right, I'm gonna head
Just
home.
like cereal.
Long drive.
You noticed
Long
it.
drive. Thanks for coming, Mark.
And then turn back on again.
Enjoy
And she
it.
turned it off. And then turn back on again. And I turned it off. I'm like, this is wild.
Howard.
I think that's probably another bug, huh?
Totally different than what I expected.
Really?
Yes.
I surprised you.
You did. It was excellent. And was she a student of yours?
No, oh no.
You weren't?
No.
Because I remember that one, you got the meteor over Half Dome.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh yeah,
how
oh
did she do
yeah.
that?
Killer
comet,
shot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was killer shot.
That was excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.